Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a very, very special guest this evening, a gentleman whom I've known for quite a few years now. We've shared some ups, we've shared some downs, but mostly really great times. A gentleman who's got a lot of knowledge and background into cars and was one of the gentlemen who placed first for the first time in a race in his little British car. Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Bob Kansa.
Hey, hi guys out there. Burke and Scott, thank you so much for inviting me on your show. It's kind of an honor, you know. It's not something I do very often, probably not at all. So this is really cool. Thanks for it and everything like that. Wow, what an introduction.
You won't say it's awesome until you've seen the whole thing, but yeah, okay, great.
We'll wait till that's over. But,
he really made you sound like you were important. Now remember, I've met you, so I know the truth.
yeah, I'm important in my own mind. Yeah, but you know, it's sort of like you do a lot of things with a lot of people, and try to make a lot of people happy with everything we do. So that's always cool.
Well, we actually. I just met Bob this past week. So this was my first time in the world of Buccaneer Bob, who I'm finding out is like one of the most important people on Put-in-Bay Island.
Oh, I don't know about that, but I do my fair share. You know, I got my nose in a little bit of everything. You know, we're pretty busy up there.
You go to the real bar and every person in the bar comes up to Bob to shake his hand, hug him, or give him something else. It's just
kind of like Norm at Cheers, basically.
and you know, the thing is, I even know some of them back. It's one of those things where I guess I have a familiar face, or I don't know, maybe it's just everything we're involved in, things that we're doing. This is both Mary and I. And it's just a matter of people come up to me all the time. I'm like, yeah, I'll have a conversation with them. I'm like, hey, Mary, who was that? or something other, who was that? And they're like, oh, that's so, oh, yeah, okay. You know, I try not to be too fake about that. And there are times when I've said, hey, how do I know you? You know?
Mary's a good handler for you. It's all good.
Now, I still, not your entire, but most of your family was up there. Your son Alex was up there helping with the car. And right. I met Alex. We all went out to the real bar one night. And every time you popped up to go say hi to someone else, he was like, well, there goes Dad being Dad. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's social butterfly. Okay.
Yeah, you know, that served me real well, though. And I enjoy that. I enjoy knowing a lot of people and talking to a lot of people. But it's, I don't want to say it's schmoozing, because it's really not. I just enjoy a lot of people and what they do. And, you know, there's a lot of interesting people up there. But not just there. I mean, I could say that for everything and everybody. You know, it's... well, you and Burke are very interesting people. That's very true. Look what you're doing here, you know. But like I showed you a little bit earlier, I wear a lot of different hats, and we have a lot of interests. You know, you were talking about, you know, I'm here to try to talk about the race car stuff today. You got that behind you, the Put-in-Bay races, which is the coolest thing ever. You know,
we were all up there to help Bob in any way, shape, or form. Actually, I have wanted to do that race for a long time, and I just never was able to do it. And now that I'm a little bit more solidified in my life and have things, I have time. I was like, you know what? That's it. I'm just going to fly up to Ohio. We're going to go do this race. And thankfully, Bob let us go and play with some of his stuff. Now we're going to go over pretty much everything that we did.
Cool.
So
let's do that.
The first day that we got there, Burke and I could not find our hotel. Impossible. For some reason, the entry door to our hotel is in an alley. And nobody told us. We didn't actually get to speak to Bob because we got there so late. As a matter of fact, we got there in time for the parade laps that you guys were doing through the old street course.
And I was so upset because I thought I was filming them because I saw you go by twice, but I was only taking pictures. I was so ticked off. Although I got a picture of Amber's car, which we didn't know her until later on. So, yeah.
Amber's car? Who is Amber? I mean, there's a lot of people.
Amber Stevenson,
the open wheel car that beat the Cox
Wonder Woman.
Oh, the Wonder Woman car. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. The Formula Ford. Yeah, she was a quick driver and a quick car.
Ooh.
Oh, really? And I didn't realize how big she actually is. She races SCCA stuff all the time. They actually did a huge article about her and her wife. What was her Serena. It was a great article. It was on SCCA's website. If you guys go and search Amber Stevenson, and it's a great article about her. I think it's on racechick.com as well.
Yeah, one of the people that we stay with, a shout out to Sharon and Craig Cox. They have a place in Put in Bay there, and he allows me to go and use his hangar, which is a phenomenal facility up on the airport of Put in Bay. And I believe Sharon is also on racechick.com. I think
she is.
Find her there. Okay. I think she is, and I think it's a great organization to bring those ladies together. They need that. And it's awesome.
Well, when I was working in the ARCA Remax series, they had just started Race Chick, and I worked for a company called K&K Racing out of Arkansas. One of their drivers was Amber Cook. She was one of the first female drivers in ARCA. There were only 3 female drivers ever in ARCA, at least that when Amber was in. So okay. I think Race Chick has done tremendous things to build females in the sport of racing.
Yeah, there are.
And as you saw in those races, those women are good.
Yeah, we have quite a, I don't want to say quite a few, but Vintage Racing does have a lot of ladies. Some of them are just there of their own interest. Some of our wives picked it up from their husbands and just decided to racing too. Of course, you met the 2 girls this weekend, and of course Sharon. So I mean, there's 3 ladies right there racing vintage. But there's a girl that runs what's called a Unipower, which is sort of like a slick-looking Mini in a way. And there's a couple of girls that run MGAs that I know. One of them is very competitive, and she could whip my butt on the track. That's for sure. And it's sort of like what's really cool is regardless of who you are, when that helmet's on, you don't know if it's a girl, it's a guy, or whatever that person is. You're out there as competitors and you're racing, and that's what really matters.
Yeah. So the first night that I met you, we hung out in your hangar, or Craig's hangar.
In Craig's hangar, right.
And I do have to say thanks to Craig and Sharon. They were phenomenal hosts.
Gracious hosts. Yeah, God bless them.
They were just fun people to be around. Anyways, we went and hung out in the hangar, and I heard all kinds of stories. Actually, before we got to the hangar, we went to the car show, and Bob knows every car that's there. He takes us around the loop. He's like, "Oh, and here's this TR6," which he actually showed us the black and silver TR6 75 that blew everyone's doors away over the weekend.
Right. That's a famous actor who actually did not know him. He never saw himself as an actor, but he was a race car driver who did some acting.
Oh, that was his car then, huh?
It was, now I don't know if it was his car or what they considered a tribute car. So I'm not exactly sure of that. But regardless, they call it the Paul Newman tribute car. So I don't know if it's his car or just one attributed to him. Regardless, Paul went ahead and drove a TR6 quite successfully in SCCA for quite some time. This one either is his or was one set up to the same exact specs. Regardless, both the driver and car are just blindingly fast. That's really
oh my God, that car, it sounded so good, and it dominated its class. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was incredible. So we actually went and looked at all these cars before many of them got out there. The Lala cars were phenomenal. They were in great shape. The picture that Burke has up right now behind him is Goodwin's car, which I think that car is up for sale right now.
It is. So the story behind that is, of course, Carl is, he's getting older, no doubt, but he's been involved with this amongst other things for, well, pretty much all his life. And he actually has taken that car this past year. He went to Nelson Legends for a couple regional events.
Oh wow.
And he took it to the Bellefontaine Hill Climb. He took it to that event. Yeah, it's the blue car to your left there, Burke. Right. That says HP on it. Anyways.
Yes.
The car is theoretically for sale, but he still plans. He's going to drive it until it's sold. So he's not shelving it or anything. Unfortunately, at this particular event, he had some differential problems, and he had to go ahead and sort of park it for the weekend. But that's not usually the case. He's usually out there racing it quite hard.
Yeah. It was actually a good looking car, but you could tell it's been raced. I thought Bob just fell.
No, I'm actually sitting on the floor, so I don't have far to go.
I was actually about to scream for Mary to come save me. So we hung out the first day, and I heard a bunch of stories, and it was good. It was my first time meeting Bob. Very eccentric man. He's got some great stories. I mean, he has his finger on the pulse of Put-in-Bay. So there were a lot of good stories going on. Anyways, the next day came, which was qualifying. And I just remember one of the things that Bob said to me the day before is, this thing's going to blow up on the first lap. And I was like, well, it'll be a short weekend, but we can drink a lot. What? So we get there.
We did anyway.
Why don't you tell us what you drive? Year, model?
Okay, so what we have here is a 1960 Austin Healey, what is affectionately known as a Bug Eye, or in England, a Frog Eye Sprite, a Sprite Mark I. They initially came with a little engine. Well, it has a little engine now because it's still pretty much stock. In that manner, we don't have a different engine in it, right? So it was a 948. Now that's a smaller. That's smaller than a liter of Coke, man. Yeah, that's pretty small. Seeing as how like a big Ford is 5 liters, we're just like one cylinder, a little more than one cylinder of a Mustang, Anyways, my particular car has an engine that's 1,300 cc's. That's only 1.3 liters. Still smaller than any engine being produced out there right now in a car and everything.
How many cc's?
It's 1,300.
Okay.
Or actually, it's 1,330, getting very detailed. But anyways, so this car here was made from several different cars, as a lot of them are now. And it started off, and the story goes real long, and I could take the whole episode with that story, but
take as much time as you want, because we can always cut it down. I just don't want people to lose out on this. This car is very fascinating.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, this is the second racing Sprite we've had. The first one, actually, it was a red one that we had built up that was in a coworker's garage, and we built it, and we absolutely loved the car. I mean, it was a great car. But when we built it as a full race car. And the problem with that is we were putting an obnoxious amount of money in something we were only using 2 or 3 times a year. And it became sort of impractical. And we actually called her Tinkerbell. And her nickname was Tinkerbell because she was a sprite. She was a little bit of a bitch sometimes. Well, while it was a lovely car, and actually not our first race car. Our first race car was actually a big Healy, which most terrible handling vehicle you'd ever want to have. I mean, it was absolutely awful. And so we progressed from one to the other. Sold it for various things in life that progressed on. My brother, Dave, at that same time had bought himself a little street Sprite. And a little bug-eye Sprite. That's all fine. He drove it for a few years, had a few little failures in it, which were not too consequential, but he doesn't do the mechanical work like I do. So he parked it in his garden shed for about, 10, 15 years or something like that.
Is that all?
Yeah, it just sat. And his wife was always wanting to kind of have him get rid of it. So we were sort of looking at trying to get another little midget Sprite. My son comes up and he goes, "Hey, Dad, you know that Uncle Dave still got this thing in the garage." And I'm like, "Oh, okay," or whatever. So we talked to him, and my brother's like, "Look, just get it out of here. Just take it. It's just, it's nothing. Just take it out of the garage. We're going to sign the title over to you and go." And I'm like, "Cool. This will give something for both the sons and me to work on." Well, as it turned out, when we started tearing that car down, it was a disaster. I mean, I'd never seen anything built so terribly to look so good. It looked great at 20 foot, but and then the floor was literally, and I'm not kidding you, I have pictures somewhere, a burlap sack that had been cut and tarred and pasted to the rust. And the rest of the car was to follow. And I'm like, well, damn, this is going to take me years just to do this. We found another chassis down in Maryland, which is the yellow car. And we took pieces from my brother's and put them into the shell of the one that we had found. And it needed a minimum amount of work. I mean, restoration wise, it wasn't that bad. We put all the safety equipment, started building into a quasi race car there, and got the front end from England because it is what's considered a Sebring Sprite. Back in the day, Donald Healey, Jeff Healey, and all these guys that were running the corporation, racing was the thing. Just sort of like Ford, Chevy, all these guys go racing, and they race the cars and sell the cars. Well, it was no different for Austin. Donald Healey at the time. And so they took a bunch of these cars down to Sebring, which is a huge race down there, and did fairly well with them. So we just sort of like made it more or less like that. Now,
so what, let's explain the difference between a Sebring Sprite or an Austin Healey Sebring, because there is a big difference in the way that they look.
Right. The nose. Okay, so what ended up happening is here once upon a time land, there was a fellow who started rallying these cars. And in the process of rallying them, you just wanted something a little bit slicker, more noticeable, a little more efficient for the car. It came up and worked with a couple guys by the name of William and Pritchard, came up with this front end nose. And further, they went ahead and made the car into a coupe, which I don't have those pieces done yet. But this car will have a coupe option when I'm done. So a hardtop, so to speak.
Nice.
Yeah. So the cars were raced in what looks like exactly this configuration. They had wire wheels though at that time, where we have solid or just your regular aluminum cast wheels.
Nobody's perfect, Bob.
Well, I've run wire wheels on a race car too, and they are scary when you look at pictures of that. You're like,
But they
no.
look so good. Oh God! If I get another car, God, I want it to have the spinners.
God, that's
yeah, I
all
know.
Burke ever talks about. The spinner. Look at the spinners.
That's my kink. Sorry.
Well, actually, my son, Alex, who you met at the races, he's got a Sprite as well. Now it's a little bit later year, and it does have wire wheels and the spinners on it, and he will continue to use those regardless. That is going to be part of the character of his car, and so we're going to keep that as stock as that. But yeah, for mine, so it's sort of like it, looks as the Sebring cars looked when they were made for Sebring, which there was a total of like 20 of them made, total.
Wow.
But they kept the molds for the nose, and that's what I'm using as the original style nose from those molds. And that's kind of a cool thing as well.
That is probably the best looking. Now that is probably the best looking front end on any Sprite that can be on the front of a Sprite.
Yeah, the bug eye is kind of cute, or frog eye is kind of cute. There's no doubt about it. It has its own unique character, but this actually makes it look very purposeful and very racy and very like what I like,
Little speed racer action going on.
But
yeah.
The bug eye reminds me a lot of the Triumph.
TR3.
The TR3.
Right.
But that's why I don't really like the bug eye. I love the look of your car has that Alfa Romeo kind of looking front end.
Some people say it looks like a little Ferrari.
Yeah, I've had people say it looks like one of the 250 short wheelbase Ferraris.
Yeah.
Or a couple
Yeah.
people say, hey, I've had a couple people say, is that a little Cobra or what is that? And I'm like, no. It just has that style that was very popular in the late 50s and 60s. There was just a very popular, very sleek, and quite honestly, beautiful style. Very, I don't know, how could you say it? It's masculine and feminine at the same time, I suppose.
That's it. I mean, you think about Alfa, Ferrari, MGB, or MG. That all of them
Fiat.
That same body style. Basically, I mean, that was the sports car for the late 50s and 60s.
Right. Yeah, sure was.
Now I don't have a picture of it, but on the butt end of your car next to the Sebring Sprite, you got that great picture of a girl. Like the old
we know who that girl is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little pinup, and that's for sure. It's like, okay, so the first race car we had, there's a Tinkerbell, and I had a little Tinkerbell on the rear end as well. But this is definitely, so we call her Miss Saffron, and a lot of it because of her yellow color, and of course, a lot of it comes from that song that we're familiar with.
Now, I had a question about that because Burke was like, that's why it's called Miss Saffron. Saffron's red.
No, saffron is actually that I know of. Saffron is actually a deep yellow bordering on orange. It's not red that I know of. It's a deep yellow bordering on orange. Mine's a little bit more yellow than that, but it just seemed to be a very appropriate name all the same.
But what I can honestly say about the yellow is that it's so bright. You can't miss it on the track. If you are a scorer, you're never going to miss this car.
Well, funny story about the yellow. So it's sort of like, and you know what? Of all the decisions I had to make about this car, every nut and bolt, what pistons, the electrical wiring, what tires, for everything the hardest decision was the color. Now, we knew we wanted to go with yellow, and there's no doubt about it, because yellow is just bright, it's happy, it stands out. And quite on, what? Photographers love the yellow because it just pops.
Yeah, true that.
Yeah, it pops on the track. Now, the only problem with yellow is bees like it too. So, we have a lot of insects seem to crawl around our car because they think it's a big flower or something, But it took us months define the color. And as it turned out, the color is not from any car. So it's sort of like, okay, here's a Corvette yellow, there's Camaro yellow, there's a Viper yellow, there's a Ferrari yellow. None of that. Everyone we looked at is sort of like, well, it's really close, but not quite right. So what we did, we went to our automotive paint shop, okay, where they mix all the paints and everything like that. Mary and I both went. We went on a sunny day, which was actually important. And we went in and says, hey, we want to take these paint chips of yours and we're going to go outside. And we sat in the sun and looked at these paint chips in the sun for, I don't know.
It took us a couple hours.
Take us a couple hours. And finally we decided on this color, which is no color for any particular car. The mixture is 2 pigments only, yellow and orange yellow. And that's it. There's no, I mean, yeah, you look at all these fancy whatever, all these colors that they got if you're painting cars now. There's like a mixture of 20, 30 colors that make everything up. This has 2 pigments, that's it. So it's a pretty pure color.
All right. I love the color. I don't want you to change the color. But saffron is red.
Well, okay. That may look red in that. Well, if you
look at a dish made with saffron.
Yeah, see, now that's what I used to look at is, I know that the monks in Tibet. Monks in Tibet have all of their clothes are supposed to be soaked and dyed in saffron. And if you look at their clothes, they are a dark, they are an orangey yellow. That's what I know. Regardless, it works for me.
I cook a lot, so I always thought that it was red, but that's why when Burke told me, he's like, we named it Miss Saffron because it.
No, don't show him this.
I know. That's what I said.
Don't show him this. He might be right.
All you have to do is put like a little red stripe down the side, and you'll be Miss Saffron. Look, the engine. The engine, that is Miss Saffron.
Well, yeah, actually, the engine is, we painted it sort of like that's a little bit more traditional. That's actually like an MGB engine color. We get real detailed. The original color looked like it's like an Army Jeep green.
God.
Yeah, it's just a terrible color. Oh yeah, there you go. So the red kind of like stands out. It looks good in it, and that's all fine. It's just a nice detail.
I was amazed at how clean your engine bay was. I have worked on NASCAR stock cars. I've worked on ARCA stock cars. I've worked on SECA cars. Mike Mafrigan let me play with his Neon for a while. Never.
I didn't know you knew Mike.
Yes, I know. I actually worked for Mike for about 6 months before I went in the Navy.
Yeah, Carl, I used to drive cars for him.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I have to say, it's sort of like, and I've been in racing for a long time. And, my racing story goes back to, about as early as I can have memory, when I was about, this high, whatever that is. And my dad and mom used to go ahead and take me to Mid-Ohio to the racetrack for some of a lot of those early races that they had down there. And mom and dad liked to go party, as everybody did back then, so mom and dad would go drinking beer and partying and having a whole bunch of people, in their big old brown, Ford van, but it'd have a whole big bunch of vans all kind of stuck together there. But what do they do with little Bob? Well, they take Bob, they give him a stopwatch and a program and a pencil, and they say, here, sit here all day. And that's what I did. And I sort of I would watch the cars and time the cars, and I got all into the cars because it was the position I was put into, but then my interest grew. So we would go to Mid-Ohio three times a year or something like that to go see all these different races for quite a few years. And my interest grew, and dad had British sports car at that time. He also had a Corvette, and he would take these cars to Mid Ohio and have fun. And there I was stuck at the end of the long straight, timing cars. But I loved it, and it was really good. When I was old enough to wander around a little bit, they took the chains off of the fence and let me wander around, and went from there. As I was leaving high school, my mom made me become aware of there was a race team not too far down at Clinton, Ohio, around Canal Fulton. They was looking for some help. And my mom says, hey, go check it out. You're sort of looking for a summer job. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. I know a lot about cars. Sure, I do. Right. I knew nothing. So besides helping my dad here and there. So I went down there. People's names were Kreiter Racing. Now, Kreiter Racing is still very much alive. And matter of fact, they are currently, they have a race shop down in Clinton, Ohio right now, Canal Fulton. They have a race shop down there, and they run a Trans Am car very successfully. They're always into points championship race with Trans Am. They're doing fantastic, and they got a crew down there. They also go ahead and take care of a bunch of what's called a Spec Miata cars. And so they have like 5 Spec Miata cars underneath their wings. So, and they also have a 240, no, wait, let me get this right. 200, a 2-something Z car, okay? No, it's not a 240Z.
260?
No, this is a much later car. The 4 cylinders came out in the the 90s. 220, whatever. Anyways, they still have that, and it was a IMSA car, and it now runs vintage. So Reed Kreiter, who's the owner, along with Sandy, Reed goes ahead and runs that car vintage now, which is really cool. Well, anyways, I traveled around with them here, there, Daytona, Road America, Road Atlanta, Mid Ohio, just different places and everything like that. And I was their crew. Now, I wasn't like a main mechanic or everything. I was sort of like the gopher, but I learned. And I learned a lot from them, just as much what not to do as what to do. And both is important, right? One of the things was, keep the car clean. And when you keep the car clean, now you know where the oil leak is coming from. Now you know what's going wrong, because it's like, hey, there's not supposed to be dirt there or oil there or whatever it is, or a leak there. And you're not going to know it unless that damn thing is clean. Yeah. So, it's real important. Matter of fact, we went ahead and we wrote the Gunk Corporation trying to get a sponsorship.
It's clean.
That didn't work out. they really didn't care. But we go through it.
It was funny that you mentioned that, because gunk was what Alex used to clean all of the brake fluid off of the inside.
Oh, yeah, it is. We go through a case of it a year at least,
Hey, Scott.
There are very few weeds growing in our driveway.
Scott, can you see the bar right there?
Well, I was just about to bring that up.
Do you see what it's missing?
It's not there. This bar is not there.
Right. So the way this works is, like I said, the car is very much street legal, which is not real common for the vintage race cars anymore. But we decided, like I said earlier, with the past car, we put all this money into it. I got to drive it a few times a year, and if it broke, it's like, well, there we go. So this car, we decided we're going to make it street legal, and that's what it is. Now, it's kind of harsh on the road, and that's for sure, and the brakes will squeak like hell. And you'll get the whine out of the transmission because that stuff's all race. But, we don't have this engine. It's not a time bomb engine. It's just, never mind.
Well, most of the time.
So before I get into the qualifying, I will explain what the bar that Burke is talking about. I rode in this car from the car show to the hangar, and there is a bar that that basically I have to squeeze my legs between
Around.
and the bar goes between my legs, which really, there's no other way to say it. It's a ball crusher.
See, I never have any of the girls that ride with my car never complain.
Fortunately, you don't have girls in your life that have testicles. So
I ride in this car with Bob back to the hangar, and we took this one corner over by Joe's, and he slammed on it so hard, I swear to God, instead of 2 balls, I had 3 because one of them broke in half. Then he flies down the road, and the car. I'm sitting here going, the car's going fast. The car's going fast. This is a great car. This is a wonderful car. We pull into the hangar. He goes, if you weren't so heavy, it would have been faster. Then after all of that, Mary comes up to me and goes, you know that bar's removable.
Yeah, we just we put it in for the race weekends, and we take it out for if we're going to be driving it around a little bit. And well, it was a race weekend, so sorry, man, you had to suffer through that one.
So it was a great ride, though. I really enjoyed it. It reminded me of my old MGB that I used to have. It was that stiff, nice. The thing turns on a dime.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing is it's rather impressive for a 62-year-old machine. You know, now because it's a 62-year-old machine, it suffers in technology that makes other cars maybe do that now. But for 62 years old, it does damn well. You know, it really does.
Not too shabby.
It really does. It was a great experience. Now, for qualifying, you were in group what, 3A or 3B? One of those 2 groups.
So yeah, there's a lot of different groups, and of course they basically break them up in car potential, and then there's an exhibition class for the guys who really don't want to race head to head, so to speak, but still want to drive very fast. And then there's the open wheel class. So as like the gals you were mentioning, like Sharon and this other gal, their cars are open wheel. You don't want to get an open wheel car with a closed wheel car on the same track. That's bad juju.
Well, it's not only bad juju. I don't think anyone would have caught up to Wonder Woman.
She's pretty fast. Yeah, I don't know what.
She was a beefcake.
Well, they're both engineers, if I recall.
They are.
Right.
And she would tell her wife, hey, I think I need this gear ratio and these gears for this race. Do the math, hand it over to her wife, the one that was driving the Mini, and she would just figure out what gears she needed, throw them in the car, and that was, and she said something to the effect of, they have each wheel balanced to within ounces of each other.
Yeah, they actually scale their cars.
Yeah,
which I'm used to doing in the NASCAR series because I'm trying to counter the balance and make it spin, make the ass end go around the corner so that you're not losing power through it. But she has it calculated down to the ounces. She says that the balance on that car is within 8 ounces of each other.
Yeah, and you can do that on those type of cars. I have had my car on a scale, but just to weigh it. I do have the individual weights somewhere, and it was pretty close to where it needed to be within a couple pounds. That may have been by luck more than anything else. My car is a lot harder to tune that way because it really just doesn't have the adjustments.
Yeah.
Her car, these formula cars, I mean, they can really fine tune them, but they're real race cars.
Yeah.
I mean, these things are built, they're real race cars. Now, mine was a sports car that we race. These other cars are race cars. So there is quite a difference.
So your qualifying run, you came in second, I think it was, in the qualifying run.
Yes.
Where you were supposed to blow up on the first lap.
Well, we were questioning,
Now-
and
Now I had a question.
And Sharon came in last. She was a DNF, wasn't she?
right.
Well, yeah, we won't.
We're not
discuss why.
we're gonna say why, but she was a DNF.
Oops.
This will be important later.
Somebody might want to check the gas tank, but anyways, one of the things that I noticed with your car in qualifying was that your car seemed to be extremely tight in the corners. Like you were actually chirping through the corners. And I was wondering if that was that you set your tire pressures and stuff for that effect, because you seem to be able to come out of the corner even though you were tight and slam on the gas. I mean, it was just you were so quick, but you did have a lot of wheel hop in your cornering. And I was
Yeah.
like,
Now, a lot of that is, of course, because, well, one thing for sure is it's 62-year-old design and suspension. Okay. I mean, this thing doesn't have coilovers or anything like that. It's got old leaf springs. We got to keep that, and it's got a solid rear axle,
Yeah.
so it's not, the rear end is not independent or anything like that. It's just what they had back in the day. So yeah, you're going to get some of that. That's just the way it is. Matter of fact, my car is a lot softer in the rear than the stock ones ever were, by quite a bit actually. So we try to put a little bit of that down. But yeah, that would be true. Now we've got a limited slip on the back. That kind of helps. But I mean, you're still going to get that. Now during the qualifying, my tire pressures were not correct. But we were able to go ahead and determine that by an old autocross trick we do. We just go ahead and we call marking the tires. And we just see where the wear is and go from there. It's quite simple. A lot of people will measure tire temperatures and so on and so forth. We just use the other method and it works for us. After that run, we found out that we needed a lot more pressure in one of the tires and did that. Added a few pounds in the one tire and went out for so the first was the practice.
right.
Qualifying was the second one. But yeah, when we went out for the qualifying, we were a bit faster and the car handled a lot better with that simple change. It makes a difference.
Now, Burke and I didn't get to see your practice because we slept in. You were already on the track by the time Bob was like, "Hey, there's gonna be a drivers' meeting at 8:30." Yeah, we'll make that.
Meeting with the pillow.
So we did get there right after your practice, and what did you think of the course? I mean, I've always been interested in these airport courses because usually when you switch from a taxiway to the runway itself, you have such a difference in asphalt that's being. I mean, you're going from asphalt to concrete. There's just a lot of differences.
Right. And the airport, that would be a really true statement. The airport courses, Sebring, Florida is an airport course. And it is known for being extremely hard on the cars. It's extremely rough. And a lot of it is the pavement changes because a lot of it's concrete. You go to I don't know, what's a normal course? Anything that could be called that. Mid-Ohio, Watkins Glen.
Yeah, Mid-Ohio is a great example. We've all raced there.
Yeah. So those courses are all, they're asphalt. I mean, they're an improved asphalt. They're smooth. They may have some patches and changes and stuff like that where there's a lot of pressure and tire wear through a certain corner or something like that, but still it's all asphalt. It's pretty smooth. They're like a billiard course. They're smooth. That's it. They're smooth. They're flat. Yeah, they have elevation changes. They make cambers and so on and so forth, but they're just very flat and smooth. Now, an airport course, exactly like you said, there's bumps. There's pavement changes. There's the paint markings.
Yeah.
I mean,
you were talking about that. I forgot about that.
You said that if you got on the one paint stripe, it got super slick and out of control, basically.
Yeah, especially in the wet. Now, that paint in the wet, you might as well just be riding on Teflon. Yeah, I mean, it's very, very slick. But even in the dry, it's that way, and your car will skip side to side. If you're on that paint stripe and you're having side forces, there's no traction. You'll slip sideways.
So quick question here. You had that hairpin turn down at the one end, which I couldn't see at all. But you also had at the other end that big sweeping turn.
Yeah, they're both basically the same. You could call it a hairpin, which is probably pretty accurate. Or a sweeping hairpin, whatever you want to call it. But it's a 180, and so yeah, it's a hairpin as it were.
Now I did notice when Burke and I were driving back, they were running through there for a different qualifier, and it looked like the cars were bouncing heavily in that sweeping 180, like it was bumpy. I couldn't.
It is.
How was the track down there at that end?
Well, I could say it this way: my car bottoms out. So, I mean, I'll actually go around that corner, and there's rises and divots, and through that corner, I'll get definitely give it a tap on the bottom somewhere,
Yeah.
Whether it's the exhaust or I got a couple lower pieces of suspension that will kind of take up some of that abuse. It will, and in the rain, you will get puddles there. That will stay for quite some time. And, once again, you have a dry track and two puddles that just kind of linger. The difference between the two turns is what they would call the monument turn, which is basically the first turn.
Mm-hmm.
You have a small taxiway that as you go around that turn, it broadens up into the runway. So you can really put the power down coming out of that turn because you have a lot of, you can just put it out because you can let the car drift way out. The other one is exactly the opposite. You've got this big wide runway and you're turning into a little taxiway. So you can't put the power down the same way. You've got to be real gentle and sure, before you got it, because if not, you'll buy a hay bale, and those hay bales they're not cheap, especially when they're filled with water from raining the day before. That thing's got to be, you're hitting, I don't know, what are they?
90 pounds, 100 pounds.
Yeah. So it's like hitting it would be hitting like a road barrier on the highway,
It's like hitting a brick.
Yeah, you don't want to do that because first of all, it's going to cost your body work, and I don't want to buy.
We saw it 3 times over the weekend, and damage was significant.
Yeah, there's been guys that have put them in there. I've tapped one, but never hit one. I've brushed them on a few times. Where it's sort of like a couple little pieces of straw might go flying, or I might find one in the cockpit later. But I've never hit one. I hope I never do. It's just a sort of a. But at the same time, there's ones that you will aim for.
All right. All right. So I can see from the signals that I'm getting, it's time for us to take a little break. I hate to do this to you, Bob. We're going to take a little break here.
Okay.
Maybe one minute, maybe 2 at the most.
Some of us have to pee. I'm and we have to reload on stuff.
Okay, I'll just stick around here.
I'm about to play.
Hey, Scott.
It's the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, Burke. It's the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. All right, guys, we'll be back in a second.
Have you ever felt the pain so powerful, so heavy you collapse? No. Well, I never had to knock on wood, but I know someone who has, which makes me wonder if I could. It makes me wonder if I never had to knock
Goodbye to you, my trusted friend. We've known each other since we were 9 or 10. Together we've climbed hills and trees, learned of love and ABC, and skinned our hearts and skinned our knees. Goodbye, my friend, it's hard to die.
Well, nobody died
All
over the weekend.
birds are singing in the sky.
Not even any car.
Now that the spring
Oh,
is in
cars
the
died.
air.
None of
Cars
ours, none of our
died.
friends. No, all the good cars made it and lived.
This
All
is
the
the-
good cars.
Think of me,
what really got me hooked on
we had
vintage
joy,
car
we
racing is
had
that these vintage cars all leak oil. So by the last race of the weekend, everyone was just sliding everywhere. I was like, this. We need to do this more often.
Yeah, how many cars were just blowing blue smoke out the ass end of their cars?
At least you know it's still got. That's when you know the car doesn't have oil, when it's not leaking.
that Ford Anglia
Anglia.
was the best. No, it was the Corvair. It was the Corvair that was. There was a Corvair out there that blew so much smoke. The bug that kept trying to pass it couldn't see.
It's like
Oh,
the Batman smoke screen, man.
Yeah, James Bond add-on.
And I tell you what, that Volkswagen Beetle was a beast.
Yeah,
It was not as fast as the TR6, but it came close.
Yeah, he's got a Porsche engine in it. Is what he's got. You know, that's what he's got in it, and I've heard it's basically a 914 engine.
I thought it was a 917.
No, not. I was teasing by that when I had mentioned that earlier. No, it's a 914 motor. It's like a 2-liter. So it's he's got a lot of power.
See, Bob, you have to understand with me, when you say something, I believe you.
Well, there's your problem.
So
Oh, hey, now I for the most part I'm true. Or
so after qualifying, Burke and I, okay, so let's talk about your qualifying run, because there was actually I think it was a Triumph that was faster than you.
yeah, and that's very true. The fella had actually done a lot of development work over the winter, and he had that car really working out. Once again, this was it was a Triumph made into a full race car. He was putting down a lot of ponies, had done a lot of work, and he subsequently had a lot of time that he spent developing on the track. So, and good for him. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're going to do that, you should get the results, and wonderful. He was. Year previously, we were neck and neck through the whole race, through the whole weekend. But yeah, he definitely had a lead on me this weekend, and such he deserves it for putting all the time and money. You know,
Yeah.
so I have no regrets about that.
Well,
Was it the
you ended up-
Spitfire? You're
No,
talking
I
about the
thought
Spitfire?
it was the Triumph. I think it was.
Yeah, there was a green Triumph Spitfire. Now, as it turned out,
Oh yeah.
at the end of his qualifying run, he broke a spring in a valve, so that wrote off his weekend.
Well,
Oh,
we'll get to that because we did not know that.
Okay.
Bob comes in from his qualifying, and he's in second, and I was impressed with that. Your car looked great. It really did look great.
Thank you.
Out of your group, there was nobody besides that Mini 993
Right.
that was going to compete with you. And you know, I saw a 3-way race between the Spitfire, your Austin Healey, and the 993 Mini. That was
that was a
I was
nasty mini.
that's going to be the race. So we finished qualifying. And the first thing that you said to me in the garage was, I don't like starting that far up front. And that made me I didn't squeam on that. I was like, I can understand. You got one car ahead of you. You've got to beat them in the first corner, or you're fighting the whole way. So I could understand that. And plus, it was only what years? How many races have you raced?
Over the lifetime of racing?
Yeah.
Oh, well, gee, I don't know, 30 or so, really?
Okay.
Something like that. It's not all, I mean, for all the years we've been involved, it's really not all that much, but
How many times in this car?
oh, in this car. Be about seven races in that,
Okay.
A lot of it is budget. And it's just a matter of we can only race what we can afford. Thank goodness we do have some good sponsors though.
Yeah.
Right behind Burke there, we can see the Real Bar, which has been a sponsor for us for quite some time. Awesome people, restaurant up at Put-in Bay, restaurant.
Open year round.
They have been there. For a couple months they'll close in the middle of winter. So I mean, there are sponsors. A new major sponsor that we had this year. Now, my major, I'm not talking about thousands of dollars, but hey, everything helps when you're running the way we run. And they're putting some money into us, and that's great. The Island Hardware up on the island.
Oh yeah,
They help favorite place for coffee. I go get coffee there every morning. It's $2. You make it yourself. It's fabulous.
Yeah, and they're also a perfect fit because it's the hardware store, and if you're racing, chances are you're going to have to get a piece of hardware sometime. Whether it's a nut bolt or whatever it is, they're there for you. So the Island Hardware does that. Cameo's Pizza, Roger and Joan Rode and Brian Costas. They've been our sponsor for a while too, and they always give us a good amount to go ahead and help us through, and free pizzas, which is completely important. It's just like, hey,
it was great in the hangar.
Yeah, we saw that great Instagram post of you in full race outfit driving one of their cars to deliver pizza. That was awesome.
It was hilarious.
Yeah, we sort of did that for them, but we like working with the sponsors and having fun with them. If they're it's just not a decal on the car. It's sort of like we like to have the guys come down and watch us race. If they want to sit in the car, they want to, if I have a chance to take them out in the car, which I did with the hardware fellas, Chris Cooper and his brother there. If I have a chance to do that, I love, showing them, hey, this is what you're paying for. Come out with us. But then we have a lot of other people kind of sponsor us too. Tom Avery, he sponsors us. Actually, Burke, our friends Rita and Jim sponsor us. Renee sponsors us. Rod Wiggins sponsors us. We just have a whole host of people that, we have a donation jar at our parties. Like it's our engine donation jar,
which is up every year, Bob. We got to quit that trend.
What?
The engine donation jar is up every year. We have to quit that trend.
It might say tires this year. So I might say tire donation jars. But I mean, it's like, it really is a matter of, we have this grassroots type thing where, it's, people give us a few bucks here and there. They're part of the team and they enjoy watching what we do. And, we like to have them a part of it. And then, of course, our little bit bigger sponsors, we put their names on the cars or such, or there's an icon on the car somewhere that kind of represents them in one way or another. And it's just sort of like, well, Burke, you've seen the cat on the car, right?
I think so, but remind me of that. Where is that at?
On the battery, there's a cat. That's you. And then Reed and Jim have the little toolbox on the side, off link. Mm-hmm. And then Tom has the Tom's Special Racing on Fire on the side and stuff like this. So I mean, there's just various things like that are on the car. These people kind of help contribute one way or another, and away we go. And then of course, like we had mentioned before, Sharon and Craig, who always offer us a place to stay in their hangar, which is you can't even pay for those things. Yeah, it's just a phenomenal thing that they.
You got A and B Rentals on there somewhere.
Yeah, A and B Rentals. They are Bob Gatewood, who's one of the performers up there, owns a place to stay up there, and they rent carts. So him and his wife. So that's A and B Rentals. Who am I forgetting? There's got to be somebody. You know, it's there's a lot of people. A lot of people put their name on the car and contribute to us getting there and being a success. You know, it's great stuff.
Sweat equity is a big thing as well. But you do repay your son with putting his name on the side of the car. That boy works his tail off.
Yeah, that's the one thing we decided on this car is a little bit different. Now, most people have the driver's name on the door, and this is the driver, and he gets. I decided not to do that on the car. Instead, on the 1.25, we have everybody's name who is the main people who participate. My name's on there. I am the driver, but I don't notice myself as such because everybody participates on this car one way or another. Mary, Alex, my son, Jeff, our friend Jessica, she helps along as well. And, you know, it's just sort of like everybody participates on a big level like that, you know. And I'm talking about spending a lot of time on the car, working on it, getting dirty. And, you know, Mary goes to work every day to help pay for my sins.
Your sugar mama.
That's it.
Mama makes 90 grand. Oh, wait, I got to do this.
Mama makes 90 grand.
Yeah.
So my name doesn't, you know, my name is right along with the other crew. And one of the reasons for that too is we're hoping to keep this car around long enough where a lot of other people are going to get a chance to drive it eventually. My son Alex wants to drive it, and I want him to drive it. In anger, as they say. You know, I want him to go ahead and try this car out on the track a few places. You know, we're building him one, but this is different. You know, and you know, maybe my grandkids will have a chance to if there's still gasoline to be had. You know,
always. You mentioned the Real Bar, and I have to say this. Burke and I went to lunch there on the first day, and I had the chicken strips. I forget what you had, Burke.
I think I had a burger, and it was fabulous.
Incredibly good, and it wasn't super expensive. I was expecting that place to be really expensive. But it was very reasonably priced for being on the island. I mean, I paid more at Subway for a sandwich than I did for the chicken fingers.
And don't say that too loud. He might want to read. Yeah.
I mean, it was the most expensive place I've ever eaten.
Yeah, Real Bar has always been real good to us. We were there since so Andy Christensen and his wife Angela. They are the managers and co-owners along with Ray Fogg, who is one of the owners as well. Now, Ray doesn't manage the place so much as responsible for a lot of the entertainment. And they put this place together. It used to be called Tony's Place. The place has been there forever.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, what does that mean? I don't know. Jeez. The building's got to be 100 years old or more, I'm sure.
Oh, at least.
Yeah, at least. So it's been there for a long time. And so they bought the place. When was it? 7-8 years ago? Something like that.
Okay.
Anyways, and we were there for the opening, and there's a little bit of us in that bar as well.
Don't talk about that yet, because we'll get into that after the cup race. We move on to race day.
Yes.
You are sitting in the hangar. We're talking air pressures about your tires. You didn't know what you wanted to do because
and that day got cold.
Yeah,
the day before was 85 degrees and it dropped down to like 62 and wind. It was a way different day than the qualifying and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, very true, very true. And the cold does make a big difference. The one advantage we had was we had sun. And that sun will warm that tarmac some. So I was counting on that to happen, and it did. So that really helped us along. So basically all I did was drop the pressures 1 pound a piece all the way around, and seemed to work for me. And we stayed with it right there for the rest of the event.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out really well for you.
You look solid in that S curve right before the hanger. You look solid on every single corner that you took on that. It was just beautiful to watch.
So we get to the first race, which is what, 9:30 in the morning, I think it was. We get you into your car. You shake hands with everyone. Burke and I go out to sit on the bleachers because we want to see Bob run. And all of a sudden, the Spitfire that beat you in time did not show up on the line.
Right. That was a bit of a shock to me too. And I had to ask, and that's when I sort of found things out, because I'm like, I'm sitting in the number 2 spot on the grid. And I'm wait, guy's not showing up. And I'm like, I look at the guy who does the pit
Marshal,
and everything. The court marshal. I want to say court marshal. There you go. Wow, court jester. So he goes ahead and takes care of the pits and everything, and or the grid marshal. That's it, grid marshal. And he's like, no, not showing up. Broke a spring in a valve, and I'm like, oh, well, that kind of puts me in first, doesn't it? And he's like, well, yes, it does. And
now
I'm like,
the funny thing is that you looked at all of us and said, I don't want to be up that high, that far. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be in the front there. That I don't like starting up there.
Wait,
and
I'll tell you why.
Mary and I are sitting next to each other when we see you line up and the Spitfire doesn't show up. She turns and looks at me and goes, oh my God, he's starting first.
What a thing with that is, it gives me personally, and I guess a lot of it is because I'm not used to starting up there, right? That's fine. I'm used to starting a couple behind. Though put in bay, we usually do pretty well. The thing is you're carrying a responsibility, and that responsibility is you can't screw up. I mean, you can't screw up at all, because if you screw, it's sort of like those pictures of those bicyclists when one falls over, everybody falls over, or sort of like running in front of the bulls. You fall over and everybody's getting horned, man. So it's a matter of, you carry this responsibility of being first in line, because you're setting the pace for the start, for one.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to make sure that you're making those first few turns really clean. Because if you don't, you screw up. Well, first of all, you're going to hear about it by all the competitors later. And then you were the guys that screwed up the first lap, and you surely hell don't want to do that. So you got to start right, and you got to start clean, and you got to set the pace so everybody's lined up behind you the right way. Because when the pace car takes you around, but when the pace car goes up into its box, you're the one setting that pace for everybody else. So you got to be just the right speed, whatever that means. And when you start off, you got to try to get that jump, but your tires are cold and your brakes are not quite set right yet, and all this kind of stuff. And it's easy to really screw up. So it's a little nerve wracking, being that, but after the first 2 turns, who cares? That's done. Now you're either battling for first, or you're in first, or you're in seconds trying to get back into first, or whatever that combination is. And that jitter completely goes away. That didn't even exist 10 seconds ago.
All right. So people know the race, the first race and the second race were both 10-lap races.
Right.
And the thing about the vintage car racing that you have to understand is that if you go off the track, you hit something, you have to go into the pits, pull up to the marshals. They will make sure that your car is okay to go back out. They will talk to you, all this stuff. So hitting something or going off the track severely is the end of your race, basically.
Well, it's the end of you being able to get a decent position. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know.
So we go into this race, and,
Bless you.
and Buccaneer Bob is in the lead, and nobody is challenging him. The closest car to him is the 993 Mini. And in the first race, he never really got close enough to you to even challenge you.
Yeah, there was a few turns, so on and so forth, that he was kind of close to. I kept him about 3 car lengths back.
Yeah.
And there was a few times he would come up to me, and there was a few times I'd pull away from him. So it ended up being about 3 car lengths at the end and through most of the race. But yeah, that's still pretty tight race.
It was pretty tight. Now remember, people, there were you were in what? You were in one race. Then were you in the exhibition?
No, okay. So and we could talk more about this, but basically on race day there was 3 events for me. Okay, race 1, race 2, which we could talk more about that, and then there was the cup race. And basically the cup race allows everybody except the open wheel cars. So it allows all the classes to run together if you want. So the first race and second race are basically cars in my class that I'm racing directly against. Then the cup race is, I'm still racing against other cars in my class, but I'm also
You're racing everyone.
Yeah, so the fastest cars, the slowest cars, they're all out there.
Makes it a little tough for the fastest cars because they have to navigate a lot through a lot more stuff.
Yeah, depending on who's out there. I mean, there's some cars that are, well, they're significantly slower, you know, and it's the same way for the slow cars. These cars are significantly faster. So you're always, you know, the slower cars are, they're driving with their mirrors a lot, you know.
So the first race you won.
Yes.
How'd you feel?
Oh, fantastic.
I mean, was that your first win?
Well, that was my first overall win in all the years I've been racing. I have won class victories before, which is always fantastic, but I've never won an overall. I've been like 3rd overall, you know, 3rd or 4th overall, you know, something like that, which is still a phenomenal finish, but never first overall, you know. But yeah, I've won my class a few times, which is always phenomenal as well, you know, depending on who else is out there. But yeah, I mean, it's just sort of one of those things that's sort of like, yes, more of that, please. You know, it's like fantastic. This is just, it was an epic moment of my life.
I think when you made it back to the hangar, we were all extremely jovial for your finish, so much so we were actually told to shut up and get the hell out of the hangar because somebody else was still preparing for a race.
Yeah, we share the hangar with Craig and Sharon, and they had some prep they definitely needed to do first, and we're celebrating, and he's trying to get her to focus on what's going on, and sort of like,
honestly, if you think about it, she lost her qualifying because she was out after the 3rd lap. And
yeah.
So I think everyone, I mean, even myself as a racer, I would have been like, I'm stressed.
Right.
Now she went out and she ran her race incredibly well.
Right. And we got to remember too. Hey, give me one second, Scott. Hey, Mary, give me the battery cord. Yeah, I need a battery cord, or I'm not good, or I will be running out of gas.
We're going to lose Bob. Oh God.
I didn't think this interview was going to be 4 hours long.
No, plug me in, would you please?
Damn it, she's wearing clothes. What the heck?
Yeah,
It is plugged in.
well, something's not working. I don't know.
Oh, maybe it's loose there. There it goes.
Ah, huzzah!
Huzzah.
All right.
Did you try unplugging it and plugging it back in?
Did you
Okay,
turn
anyways,
it off and back on again?
The thing about Sharon is relatively new to racing. I mean, she's only been doing this for a little over a year. And she did race last year, but last year was a whole different situation. We had rain and all kind of stupid craziness.
Yeah.
And she had problems with her car last year, which she resolved and was able to run. And they were supposed to go to a school this past spring, and she wasn't able to make it. Though she did take some other schools with Kreiter Racing, like I had mentioned a little earlier.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So she was pretty well prepared, but experience means a lot.
And we saw that in the race.
Yeah,
I mean,
it means it means a lot just in your self-confidence. You know, experience is one thing for driving, but just the confidence of I've been out here and I know what this feels like, and I know what it's like to be in the heat of battle. You know, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, nerves are a big thing with a young racer.
Yeah, I used to get nerves really bad before racing. I mean, I'd have this terrible gag reflex, and I was in the porta potty quite often, you know, and it was just like that. In more recent years, I'm a lot more settled down. And
Well, even with a young racer being in a new car, like you haven't been out enough to like know the limits of that car just yet. So I mean, you're unsure yourself, you're unsure of the vehicle. There's just a lot of stress going on.
yeah, well, see, that's one of the fun things about racing is now we sail too. That's another subject for another day, but it's sort of like everything's changing on you all the time. You know, whether it's the weather or the track, the competitors, the car itself, and you could have a lot of time in your car, and there's going to be something changing on it, man. Maybe you had to use different brakes for a different manufacturer, different tires, or it could, you know, or in my case, another engine.
No,
you know,
number 3
you know,
or 4.
Well,
We've lost count now.
yeah, I'm sure there'll be more, but it's just a matter of, you know, everything's changing on you so often and all the time. So it's just a matter of, but that's part of the fun of it. You're not doing the same thing all the time. Even at the same track, you're doing different things, different people. You know, there's a different situation. That's part of the fun of it.
Yeah, you know, when I started racing, I started racing motorcycles first. I actually still have. I'm actually still listed on the AMA website, I think. And the jitters are different for every driver. I would 5 minutes before lining up have to go pee like you wouldn't believe. And it was just every time. You know, I'm hydrating, I'm getting ready for the race and all that stuff. All of a sudden, you hear the 5-minute call, and it's like, oh, gotta pee.
Yeah. Well, now actually, when I an age ago, when I was taking my first driver's school, they taught you that because they said, look, before you get on that track, go take care of business. Because if you don't, and you're out on that track and something happens,
It's gonna happen.
You're gonna say it, and then you're going to do it. And, you know, you don't want to necessarily have to pay for dry cleaning if you don't have to.
Hey, those fire suits are not cheap. So you made it through your race. You won your race. Did you get your trophy?
No. Now, the organization that we're with, they don't really give trophies. They used to give some small ribbons and stuff like that, which I have some from past races, and that's all fine. As far as trophies go, no, they've sort of eliminated that. And actually, a lot of the vintage organizations don't do it anymore, with good reason. And it's just sort of like, first of all, nobody's making money doing this. Or maybe, you know, 1% of anybody who's doing it is making money out of it, you know. And so why you're going to go bend a car and break a bone in your head because you're getting a $2 plaque or a trophy. No reason to it. But boy, the bragging rights are there. You know, and that piece of paper showing you the results of how you got is there. You know, and it's just sort of like, hey.
I don't know how many times on Facebook I have seen your timesheet from your race reposted. Apparently, we have a lot of friends that match.
Yeah, you know, it's something to be proud of, and I am proud of it. You know, but I'm proud of everybody. I'm proud of the whole crew. You know, Mary and especially Alex, who really helped me out. My older son wasn't able to make it, but last year he helped me all last year. He was able to come down for the race, and
nice.
So my son Jeff, you know, so it's sort of like it's a family thing with us.
Jeff did. He came in on a Zoom call after. Well, we're about to talk about the next race that you ran, and the second actual race that you ran, you looked marvelous for about 4 laps. I think it was 3, and then all of a sudden, I was sitting there going, "That was the best damn racing I have seen for 4 laps ever in my life." That 993 was on your ass.
Right.
He figured out his issues from the first race, and he was up your butt. And I was like, this is great racing. Then all of a sudden,
you were like, why is Bob in the grass? What the hell?
You just stopped.
Yeah.
And I was like,
there was no smoke, so.
Yeah, there was no bang, tinkle, tinkle. So we were like, well.
So I'm watching the marshals to see if it goes to a full course yellow or if you're off enough to where it's okay. And it was a localized yellow until you got off the track, and it opened back up. And I was like, okay, I guess we're done for the day. This is the tinkle tinkle that we were expecting in the first race. Then your car started again, and I was like, holy shit. Here comes Bob. And Bob drives by us, takes both hands off of the steering wheel, and goes, I don't know. I'm just like, okay, you didn't even make it around again.
Right. So,
you ended up parking by a hangar on the other side of the road. What did you think was going on?
And I didn't know at that time. What the most that I could figure out at that time was I had a loose wire on the fuel pump or something that was it wasn't getting fuel, but I don't know why it wasn't getting fuel. And I figured maybe an electrical connection had come off, and maybe it was intermittent with the fuel pump or something like that, and I couldn't tell what. So yeah, and this is one of the reasons that the Mini was right behind me, because I was faltering in the curves a little bit, and I just couldn't stay ahead of him. He was right on me, and I just couldn't get on it. So my first 2 laps were okay, and he was right up on it. There's no doubt. And on the 3rd lap, I'm faltering, and I'm like, he was right on my tail at that point. It's sort of like, okay, whatever. And then as I went through the 1 hairpin, died flat. I mean, it just died flat. And it's like, okay, but there was no bad sounds or anything like that. It was like, no, there was no like bangs or whatever.
There was no bang, tinkle, tinkle.
Right. Yeah. So, and my oil pressure seemed to be okay right until, the engine wasn't running. So I was able to go ahead, and I did the best I could to get out of everybody's line as soon as quick as possible and pull off as far into the grass as I could. I sat there for a couple minutes, and I'm like, well, I don't know. So I tried to restart it, and it restarted. And I'm like, well, okay, it restarted. I don't know why, but let's go play. So I sort of look behind me, look at the corner workers, ask for a clear spot. They're like, go. I get back out on the track and went around about a half lap and started faltering again, and end up dying in the same turn once again. And I'm like, okay, whatever's happening, it's because of the forces in this turn. And I pulled off as far as I could, out of between the hay bales and the sword, get out of everybody's way. And they just continued the green because I was way off any racing line or out of danger. Once again, I started it again, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to go out again because I'm just going to be, that's just stupid. I'll be a danger out there. I'm not going to do that. So I instead went ahead and pulled onto somebody's basically their hangar taxiway driveway onto the road there and waited it out and watched the race as a spectator like the rest of you guys. Watching the green mini going, damn. I
could have had him, son of a.
So
Yeah, and I watched the rest of the race in the Wolseley Hornet and Ford Anglia. We're having a nice battle between them for second and third.
it was a battle for how much smoke and oil they could put out on the track.
I don't know if they were maybe a little bit from the Wolseley, but anyways,
Yeah, a little bit.
so it's just kind of painful watching the rest of it. And when the checker flag went, I watched the corner workers, went back out on the track and just kind of motored around into the paddock, or back to Craig and Sharon's hangar there.
Now it was very interesting when you came in because there were a lot of issues that had happened, and it made it incredibly hard to troubleshoot what went wrong.
Right, that's correct.
I'm
not 100%. I'm not 100% sure we actually figured it out.
I still think it was your distributor cap. The amount of movement that I saw when he pushed it back on, it went almost a half an inch.
Yeah, and that could have been a matter. He found a loose wire, plug wire. That could have been part of it. Usually that's stutters. And we found another loose small wire, was an indicator wire, which may or may not have been. But Alex took it all apart. Went into the fuel cell area, checked the pump, and all those wires, they were all secure. So it is what it is. We checked the fuel flow.
He was doing yoga getting to the back end of your car. It was hilarious.
Yeah, quite a bit. He did an awesome quick job on
now,
that.
was this the brake fluid leak?
No.
Or was that the race before?
Yeah, that was actually the race before where the brake fluid cap had cut. And that was a little bit wild because my feet were slipping around the pedals a bit, which is never good.
It was hilarious. Well, you jumped out of the car. You looked at me and you said, my feet are sliding everywhere. There's something leaking. Leaking. I don't know what it is. And at first, my concern was you had a transmission leak, which we knew about.
Right.
But I was worried that was spraying up the firewall and sliding down it onto the pedals. No, that was
it was all clear. So we were like, oh no, this is clear fluid. This is something different.
Yeah, and while the car is quite the female, that is nothing.
Squirting is not good.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with it. So yeah, it was one of the brake fluid reservoirs. The cap was loose, and just through the forces, it had been splashing down and across the pedals and so on and so forth.
And your oil catch can was majorly full. We emptied that out too.
Yeah, there was definitely, which is not uncommon for the whole situation. That's what it is. It says a reservoir instead of a PVC system that goes back into the intake or anything like that. It's just, and we try to be green clean with this car.
Yeah, right.
So the brake pedals were covered with fluid, but we got it all dried off and cleaned up and made sure those caps were tight for the rest of the weekend for sure. Topped it off and away we go. So yeah, no longer were my feet dancing across. Well, they do, not ice skating, So it could have been the second race. Could have been a distributor. Could have been electrical. The other thing,
like I said, there's no way for us to actually know because we didn't test everything after we did something. We were just in kind of a hurry to figure out what the issue was.
Yeah, so you sort of check everything.
Yeah.
Now it could have been the float bowl needle was in the carburetor was hanging up. there's a small chance it was that, and I've got a replacement for it now.
You took that apart and cleaned it, and I mean, you hit everything on that car pretty much that was easily gotten to.
Right. That I could have figured out what it was, and it's like, okay, well, it's running, it sounds healthy, it's all together. So, what else you gonna do? Let's go play.
So, the very next race that you're in is the Cup, right?
That's correct.
And the Cup races is basically everyone put together.
Yes.
15 laps. We have already seen that the only competition that you have is the 993 Mini.
Yeah. The close competition. There was other people in my class racing, but yes as far as being able to, yes.
Here's what I will say about the Cup race. That was the best race of the entire night because you had the 993 and yourself fighting. You had the two Mustangs going at each other through that whole race. And
then there was the number 75 TR that just blew everyone away.
Well, I don't even mention him anymore because he just wasn't there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and the Jag was racing. That VW Beetle was up there beating on everything.
Well, yeah.
Well, this is where that Cup race was incredible to watch because that Beetle was passing people left and right.
And I still can't believe that car has that good a suspension. I mean, engine, yes, but damn, that thing could hug a corner. Holy cow.
The TR6 was incredible. The
one TR3, the 338, was that his number? The black one?
Yeah, there was a TR3 that was running. He was a bit behind.
Yeah.
But he was a solid contender too. I mean, he was trying. He was trying his best.
Yeah, I tell you what always really surprises me is, I mean, okay, it's like you got this little Sprite, and it's the lower class of cars, really. Besides, I mean, for its age group or potential, whatever you want to consider it, you know. But there's cars that by rights really I shouldn't be ahead of, you know. You know, I'm not contributing it to me or anything specifically. It's a good car, but it's sort of like, yeah, you know, we're ahead of MGBs and TR3s and the Corvair. Well, we were ahead of a lot of people.
Yeah. Oh
yeah. I guess I'm gonna hang on. I'm gonna actually reverse a little bit here. Let's I have to talk about the MGTAs and TDs that were in the race. I'm going to tell you right now, those cars are not made to go that fast. Yet that black MGTD was insanely fast. There was a black one and a green one that were go on.
Yeah, one of the cars that unfortunately didn't make it out there because he had some problems. Sort of ironically enough, during the parade laps, Manley Ford, who is one of the originators of this event itself, has a lightning quick TD that he incredibly knows how to drive. He's also got a Lotus Super 7 that he just drives the wheels right off of it. And these guys know how to make these cars work. They know how to make power in these cars. And you wouldn't think that this car that looks like it, I mean, yeah, they're old MG sports cars. They're awesome cars. They're also from the early 50s. And you would not think that these things would work the way they do. And they got all drum brakes. Yeah.
Dude, the TDs looked like the bodies were bending when they were in the corners.
And I'm
it was
sure
just
they would.
insane.
But they were sticking to that S curve right in front of it. They were sticking those so well. It was like, that car should not be able to do that.
That car's not built to do that.
Yeah, and they're tall too. I mean, their center of gravity is not what you would necessarily want for a modern day race car.
Yeah, your head is at the same level as their engine in that car. It should not be able to do it. It should topple over and okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're quite right. That's the appearance it gives. But these guys they know their cars and they know what to do with them and they make them work and they make the suspension work and they're good at it. And they're good competitors. They're aggressive, good drivers.
The first race where they were racing each other, the only thing going through my head was,
there's a touch of madness around here.
that's it. Absolutely insane. And I sat back and went, oh, sorry.
He sat back and watched his text messages on his phone.
Okay, I'll tell you something cool about these cars.
Yeah,
They're not in museums.
I think, hey, I'm going to get a drink really quick. Really?
Wow, that was 5 minutes ago.
You go get a drink. We'll sit here and talk.
Here's what I'm going to do. We're actually at break time again.
I just went and got a drink, man. Whatever. All right.
I have to go to the restroom and I have to answer this because it's people wanting me to work and I always want money. Does that not make sense to you?
I don't understand what you're saying.
I can wait.
What the hell? What the hell? Okay, guys. I'm not going to give you mighty boss tones. I've been in a Rocky Horror Picture show.
All right, guys. We'll see you in a bit.
Oh, here we go.
Well, hey.
Hey, we're back.
Hey, good to be back.
Scott and I did not realize we both absolutely love Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Disco is always good stuff for me. I'm just saying.
Absolutely.
I love my. All right, so why is my stuff not working?
There's a blue pill for that.
But Apple always works, Scott. I don't know.
Oh, dude,
that
that has never stopped working, and I totally use the blue pill just for extended. Wasn't that on a Trojan commercial for your extended pleasure? Dude, just take a drug. 100 milligrams of sildenafil. It will help you.
It'll help her.
And then some. Judas Priest, man.
All right, so I got that uploading. So, where'd we leave off? We're at the Cup race now.
Right. And we're discussing about just the various cars that are in it. The fact that there's the fast of the fastest and some of the slower cars in it, but everybody's out there having fun.
Okay, Bob, wait. We have a question. There were two bulbous looking cars that just kind of loped around the track. We call them the la la cars because they look like they had their arm on the window and their arm in the armrest, and they're going la 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 la. But we don't think they were the same car. We think one was a Volvo, but we couldn't tell what the other one was.
Well, one was a Saab
Yeah, I
because
believe they were
it says
both
Saab on it.
They were both Saabs.
They're
Okay.
both Saab. There was a red Saab, actually owned by a fellow by the name of Barry Prosser, and he actually has a big part of the Put in Bay races in a way. He doesn't help to put them on, but he's a heck of a promoter, and he has his own little Facebook group, and I think he even has a website too. It's called Curve in the Road, and it's just all about obscure cars out there having fun and enjoying so life isn't on the straights of the road, life happens in the curves of the road, is sort of his theme. And he just finds and drives or is interested in the weirdest old cars, his personal choice being the Saabs, and it's just sort of like things that you may never ever see even, and it's pretty cool. He's pretty good with that, just promoting it and making light to things you would not think of. But yeah, he sort of leads if anything, you can call it the Saab group, or this odd car group that ends up becoming there, one of a kind cars.
I'm trying to find him. Oh wait, there's a Facebook.
Yeah, looking for on Facebook, and look up Curve in the Road.
Barry Prosser.
Yeah, that's him.
I don't see that. Oh, there's the 30 car, the red one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, wait, there's the blue one that he was racing against too.
Right.
Tim Winkler.
Being the oddest thing, that Saab was a aircraft manufacturer, and actually Saab was an aircraft manufacturer, and the emblem on their car is a dual engine prop plane that and I think I believe they made some fighter jets and stuff too.
That is true. They did. Delta Wing craft, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. So they made these fighter aircraft and slow cars.
Well, BMW's emblem is evocative of a propeller craft because they built propeller airplanes.
Oh, I always thought that was a center of gravity symbol.
Nope, it's about a propeller.
Oh, my bad. But yeah, the Saabs are now, what's odd about they're two cycle cars.
No.
Oh yeah, yeah, and they are obnoxiously loud and terrible and smoky and the whole bit, But they were famous for the snow rallies. They would always do really well. Yeah, like the European snow rallies.
Really?
They would just tear it up, in these old things. So there's nothing slowing them down. Rear wheel drive, rear engine. It's sort of like they would go through the snow real well and do real well in the old rallies.
And Scott is not doing any audio because he's muted.
Scott, unmute. Type it in. Unmute.
Can't hear you.
So
There we go.
It's the Lala car.
So I was thoroughly expecting every time these two cars came around the track, for an elbow to be sitting out and a cigarette in their hand, because that's as fast as they went. It was
Maybe a martini in the other hand, just
they could not knock the ash off of the end of that cigarette. They were great cars. I mean, out of all the races that we saw, all the cars were phenomenal. How did it feel to be racing on the same track as the TR6?
Oh, he went to mute again.
Yeah, you went to mute. Can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
Hello. Hello, Scott.
Hang on.
We can hear you.
Try that again.
Hang on, because I think it just switched my microphone to... All right, here we go. You can hear me.
I can hear you.
Try again.
So what I was saying was, how did it feel to be out on the track with the TR6 that lapped you twice.
No, not at all. He lapped me once as a half a lap before the end of the race. So actually, we did pretty darn well. And I felt bad that he did come around me, but I was the last car that he lapped. I was still in, what was it, sixth place?
Think
Yes.
so?
Sixth place overall, first in class. And I was the last car to get lapped. Like I said, it kind of made me feel bad. I tried to stay ahead of him, but there was just no way. It was fine. It's not intimidating or anything like that. I knew he was eventually going to come around, and that's all good. But nobody else got around me, just him.
I think the most impressive part of that last race was you were starting to nip at the heels of the two Mustangs.
Yeah, for the first several laps, I was pretty close to them. Now their power just eventually started going away, and there's nothing you could do. I mean, you're talking about I have roughly 100 horsepower, and they have probably roughly 400 plus.
But they weigh 4 times the weight of your car, so
Yeah. Well, I don't know what those cars weigh. They probably weigh somewhere around 3,000. I'm not sure. I really don't know. Our car weighs 1,300 roughly. So, but yeah, and I sort of wanted to catch them in the worst way because I'm like, hey, they're not really leaving me. I might be able to catch these guys. It wasn't happening, but they never were out of my sight. And so that was pretty exciting as it was. But everybody else, I kept behind everybody else except for that TR6. It is an interesting thing. It really wasn't a matter of the faster cars than me I'm racing against. It was more of coming up on the slower cars. And yeah, I think the Saabs, I think I lapped like 2 or 3 times. The one Alpha, which completely
The
shocked
black
me,
one?
he should be a ton faster than I did.
Yeah, he was slow.
He was pretty new to that car, but regardless, he should have been a ton faster than me, and I ended up lapping him.
well, even the Fiat, which I thought would have been a little bit faster, he was kind of a slow car.
Yeah, that was actually one of the island cars. The people, that car's exchanged hands probably, the race has been going on for 15 years, so probably 12. So that car has probably been through 12 different drivers. But it's always stayed on the island, and it's always running, so
Which
why
for a
not?
Fiat is just kind of amazing in its
not
own
the
right.
most reliable things in the world. But yeah, I think I lapped him. I lapped about, I don't know, I'd probably about a third of the field.
Yeah.
So some of the cars are not bad. It's when you're coming up against a car who has potentially as much power and handling and everything as you are. He is slower, and you're trying to get around him, and he don't want you to get around him. So I mean, that becomes a battle, and that Alpha would probably be one of the notable ones because I had a good lap and a half battle with him. And there was a few times he blocked me on my way, like, hey, no. And he's sort of like, no, I don't want you around me. I'm like, I want around you there, so, but it's my responsibility as the overtaking car to make sure that I don't screw us both up,
Yep.
And what ended up with him was he was just as fast as I was down the straight, but he didn't want to make the turns. And actually, that's how I got around him, is we were neck and neck coming down the straight, and I didn't necessarily outbrake him. He just didn't brake with me, and he ended up going off course. He was just like, what? I'm not making that
Whoops.
turn, and there he goes, And you got to watch that because you don't know when the guy's going to try to turn in on you, and all of a sudden your body work has a black streak down it. And that ain't, so
There's a fine line between wanting to win and not wanting to F up your car.
Yeah.
It's wanting to win and because
wanting to drive your car back onto your trailer.
That nose cost me a couple grand. And I wanted to stay for a little while, though they're still making it so I can still buy another one. But you don't want to screw. The wife of the voice of the
The voice of money has spoken.
the quartermaster back there.
It is basically this.
So what I'm gonna do is piss and moan like an impotent jerk and then bend over and take it up the tailpipe.
Which
Yeah. Well, so the vintage racing is a little different in the fact that it's called gentleman's racing. And so theoretically, you don't want to screw up. You don't want to screw up the other guy's car. If you have a choice between pushing somebody off the track and, giving a little bit of rubbing, you don't. It still happens on occasion anyways. But for the most part, you don't want to do that in the vintage racing.
What was your favorite car from the weekend besides your own?
Wow. Well, there was a few. Definitely a few. I love the Jaguar. Lee Poseidon's XKE. That's just a gorgeous car.
The dark blue purple
great.
one.
It was like a light metallic blue.
Oh, that one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous car. He drives it well. He was having brake problems during the weekend. He put the wrong fluid in and he boiled his brake.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's why he was running where he was running. But besides that, the car usually runs really well, though it's a little big for that track. So I love Lee's car. The Ford Anglia was incredibly impressive for it. I mean, it was clean.
It was
on
gorgeous.
Yeah, he did a beautiful job on it. It was show condition, ran it really well.
Yeah, he was quick.
And the engine on it was really trick. He had this Ford Cosworth engine in this thing, and it had some old factory racing options that are just non-existent anymore. He just happened to have them. Like he had this direct fuel injection, which was which was unheard of the time, except for like there's probably a dozen of them made by the factory, and he happened to have one and had it installed. And so I thought that car was incredibly cool. I was expecting Harry Potter to jump out anytime.
Yep.
But the car did fly.
He was good. He was doing really well.
Yeah. So I mean, that car was very impressive. It was very cool. There was also some of the street cars. Now, here's a big thing about Put-in-Bay and the vintage races is you have a lot of guys coming out in their old cars, just like our race cars, but they're the street cars. Some of them go ahead and put them out on the track and do exhibition racing and kind of throw them around. But these guys, it gives everybody an excuse to do more than just go to a car show. I mean, all these cars, what do? They go out, go for a car show, and then go and put it back in the garage. And that's nice. This gives them something totally different for these guys. They get to go watch their version of their car out on the track, really getting pushed rather hard, and they're racing it. That is something cool about these race cars is, a lot of these cars anymore go into collections. These people are buying them, put them in collections, and they sit next to their whatever Buick and this Corvette and that Porsche and whatever Lamborghini, and they sit in a collection. These cars aren't doing that. The cars were made to be driven. They're made to be driven hard. And these guys, all these guys that still have these cars still are. Yeah, parts are getting harder as they get older. You break a block, you break a block. You
may not find another one.
Yeah, he might try to weld some pieces together, but it is what it is. And it's just sort of like, but these guys are like, screw it. Cars are made to race. The cars are made to perform, and that's what they are. It's a living museum. It is. They're living museums. It's living artwork out there. It's not just something you look at a wall and it's sitting there. It's out there doing what it's supposed to be doing. And that's what makes it beautiful. But yeah, these guys in these stock cars come out and bring them out. Now, there was some of these stock street cars, absolutely concourse cars. I mean, they're just perfect. They're absolutely beautiful. There was an MGTD there. It's just sort of like, you're looking at this thing. It's like, You don't see there's not an atom of pollen that sticks to the fenders, you know?
Well, you showed us one.
Yeah.
You showed us one of those at the car show. It was like it had the original lacquer on the fenders. It had the walnut. It was a gorgeous car.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of these guys drive them. There was a guy with I know, what was it? It's like an MG Magnet or whatever like that. It was a dual green color car. And
Oh yeah,
yeah,
the guy from Florida.
Yeah, he drove it from Florida. You know, and it's just sort of like, okay, I don't know if my Honda would make it back and forth.
Yeah, I know, right?
You know, and this guy's driving this whatever. Yeah, it took him a couple days or whatever like that, but he still drove this car from Florida. You know, a lot of these guys are driving these cars around. Our friend Ron Wiggins with his TR3 Le Mans replica. You know, it's just sort of like, you know, it's sort of like a rough looking car on the outside on purpose, but you open up that hood and it's like, damn, this is perfect in here, you know. And he spent a lot of time doing that. And that's something else some of the people do, and we do as well, is we kind of dress the part of it. Mary especially will wear a lot of 60s outfits. She finds these dresses from the 60s and she'll wear them, you know. And a lot of people will do that. She makes sure that I have my tight, straight pants and a little bit of a starched shirt sometimes, but I wear my racing stuff too, you know. Once I'll just wear my little British cap there, my Andy cap. You know, I get my Andy cap. But people like dressing up a little bit too, and it kind of all adds to the fun.
Ooh, I guess I should. Sorry.
Time for Scott to speak.
Brain farted. All right, so we went through that whole race weekend. It was a fabulous 3 days of racing. But now it's time to drink. And where do we go?
Well, there's a lot of places to go. I mean, we like to go to the Real Bar. The Real Bar is a real good place to drink. That's where a lot of the locals hang out, and it's one of our favorite places to go. But there's a lot of establishments out on that.
All right.
Another place we like going is called the Red Moon. And the Red Moon is like set up like an old speakeasy. And they've got a lot of specialty drinks there that are really awesome, you know, and you walk into the place and it's sort of like, you expect there to be a set of gangsters to be sitting in the corner or something like that.
Well, is that the place that we went to at the end of the night?
That was the one place we went to. It was really darkly lit. And we got the specialty drinks, and you were unhappy about the wet versus dry martini. That's
I love Mary.
So if you want to show Mary, I posted from Google the definition of a wet martini. It's like, wet refers to more vermouth. And I understand the dry vermouth versus wet vermouth. Dry means white when you're talking about the wine, and sweet means red. Okay, that's a completely different subject. When you're talking about building a martini.
Wait a second. I thought red was generally dry and white was generally sweet.
Not in martinis.
Oh, not in martinis.
The martini wine that you mix with vodka or gin, sweet is red, dry is white. And that's just the wine.
See, I'm not a big martini person. I'm rather a rum person.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, now there's a little notation. Notice the number on my car.
151.
Right.
Rum.
Which is a rum number.
Bacardi.
Yeah.
It was 5 originally, though. What was it 5 originally?
It was. Now, for years and years, I ran the number 25. And then what ended up happening was, for a short amount of time, we weren't racing so much. And another car took that number over as its permanent number. A fellow by the name of Ron Sove, who races out of the Midwest and has he works for NASA, and he has a Saturn-powered midget.
Oh my God.
It is deadly quick. Nobody can touch it. I mean, that TR6 would have never kept up. I mean,
wow.
Ron is incredible in his car. Him and another guy by the name of John Sacramento. Anyways, So what ended up happening is when we got this car together, so on and so forth, we registered to have a permanent number on the car. And we had choices of different numbers, of which none of them were selected for my choices, but they gave me 151, which is part of, because I had like either 25 or 52, 25 was taken, 52 wasn't going to work. And I'm like, well, it could be 15 or 51. Or I wanted a 5 in it somewhere. They gave me 151. I'm like, epic.
Done.
That's perfect. So the car actually has its national permanent number is 151.
Nice.
Yeah. For a lot of the events, what they do is they give you a choice of numbers. You go with whatever, and then first choice, second choice. That's good. You don't want two cars with the same number. Easy enough. But 151 is its permanent number, and that will always stay with the car.
All right, so we've gotten a little bit ahead of track here.
Or off track. I thought we were supposed to be off track. Ah.
Drove downtown in the rain, 9:30 on a Tuesday night, just to check out the late night record shop. Matter of instinct, a matter of conditioning, a matter of fact. Dr. Landy, tell me you're not just a pedagogue. Right now I'm lying in bed, just like Brian Wilson did. Lying in bed, just like Brian Wilson.
All right.
So that is our friend Bob Gatewood, him and his wife Andrea. Now Bob has a band called Calabash. They don't play all that often, but they were really super popular one time. They've always played up on the islands. But they were a big thing downtown Cleveland. Now, the matter of fact, I would guess you could say that a lot of the rock and roll Cleveland scene in the 80s, Bob was playing a lot of the places up there at one time. And he mostly plays on the islands now, plays solos. He plays with Ray Fogg, who also plays at that bar. It's his bar.
Yeah,
So
he can play if he wants.
Right. So, and Bob is a phenomenal guitar player, and he's a good writer too. He has a few songs. But him and Andrea help sponsor the race cars because they go ahead and they lend us a cart for the weekend because or the week rather, they go ahead and they have a cart rental. So amongst him being an entertainer, he goes ahead and he rents out rooms at a place that he has out there, rents out golf carts, and rents out water skis and plays guitar. So as many people are on the island, you wear lots of different hats.
So the only reason I brought that up was because when we were at the speakeasy and Burke was complaining about the martini,
Oh, well, later on, yeah, we saw Bob at the bar.
Bob
We had
shows up.
a great time at the bar, and oh my god, we had the sloppy joes.
Oh, that was it. That was it.
That was it real.
Now,
And oh my god,
the vegetarian sloppy joes, they were incredible.
if you didn't tell me it was a vegetarian, I wouldn't have known. They were phenomenal.
Good stuff. Yeah, I've never had them myself.
You should try it, man. It was excellent.
Yeah, I usually have the hamburgers there, or I like the fish sandwich, or the grouper sandwich is usually pretty good. I think that's not what you usually get, Mary. Yeah, Mary usually gets the grouper sandwich there and stuff. So there's stuff that just. Ah, there you go. Off-screen voice.
Gotta love it. So, how was your weekend all together? Did you have a good time?
I had a great time. It was one of the best. It was actually one of the best races we've gone through and participated in. You know, we had a couple little things go wrong, worked our way through them, and succeeded highly after working our way through them. Car ran excellent. Everybody seemed to get along through the weekend. There was no excessive bad
Violence.
dramas. and nobody else got hurt, and everybody else's car went home mostly in one piece, maybe a little broken here and there, and the weather held out good, and everybody had a great time. We went home in one piece. We may not have to win, but when you can drive the car back up on the trailer, that's a successful weekend,
Well, when
really
you can drive it onto the trailer in one piece,
yeah,
that's a positive.
Yeah, and so I mean, for us personally, we spent the rest of the week up there, and now you guys went ahead and rode on the Miller boat line. The ferry's coming over, right?
Yes,
Correct.
Right, absolutely, because you brought the car, and that's what the Billy Market and the Miller boat lines. That's what they do. They're very good at it, and they have just added a multi-million-dollar ferry to their fleet, and they were dedicating it Sunday.
Yeah,
So-
I saw the pictures of it.
I think you sent us some videos, I think.
Yeah.
Well, there was a video I took. We just happened to be in the right place at the right time. But we stayed we stayed for that. They dedicated it to actually the mother, Mary Ann. And cool thing to do, of course. And you could just about land an aircraft on that ferry. Definitely you could land a helicopter on it, I'm sure. But it's huge. But it was a long time coming, and they had to struggle through it a little bit, but everything was good. They overcame everything, and it'll be in their service now. But yeah, we stayed that week for it. And it was a wonderful week. Now, truth have it, we still don't have everything unpacked. So, Burke, if you're not busy.
No. There's some cleaning to do for the party coming up. That's what's next.
This is true. Now, I got the toolbox and stuff unpacked because I'm working on my gee whiz, I got to work on my everyday driver. What the heck? That's how terrible is that?
The car that takes you to work should be running. Yes.
Yeah, I've got a little old. It's a Mini Cooper, new age, current generation Mini Cooper. Anyways, I got to replace an axle in that yet, and I'm almost there. So it's just a matter of I got to. But no, we don't even have everything unpacked yet. The house is a mess, and this is part of it. We spend all summer doing 100 different things. We had that engine failure in the late spring, early summer, so we trashed getting this new engine together. It was everything we could do to get it together.
Simultaneously fixing the boat.
Yeah. Well, that was your help too, Burke. Thank you so much again. We had some holes in our boat that we had to fix, and
they were minor, small, SML.
I couldn't fit through the hole, so I guess it was. Yeah. But anyway,
They didn't have to sink, but yeah, man, they were bad.
So we had to get this engine. We put our whole engine together in really short notice. We worked.
And wait, how many days was it before the race that you actually got the engine installed in the yellow car?
Okay. From the race, it was only a week, but it was. It was. Well, we had the engine in and running, and the car running on Thursday, and up on the trailer ready to go Friday. So we had just enough time to drive it around the block to let the break-in oil do what it was going to do, and away we go. And that's why we were scared, because there was something not right in that engine. And usually things never get better. It did.
That thing sounded and ran amazingly for you were like, I don't like this tolerance, and I don't like this head setup, and I don't like this, and we're like, oh god, it's gonna blow up again, oh god. And then the thing was a dream on the track. It was amazing.
Yeah, it ran really well. Now there's some things we're going to go back and check, but I'm not going to do it anytime soon. I got other things to do first, we may leave a few things alone. It's sort of like
It's like plumbing. If it works, don't fuck with it.
The engine runs. The engine runs good.
Yeah, so we're going to sort of leave some things alone, I think, but we're going to go through it and check. We have to do that. But yeah, I mean, it's just sort of like it only had not even an hour's worth of time. It had about an hour's worth of time before we had it on the track. So it was enough to go ahead and break in engine oil, did its work, changed out, put the racing oil in, and away we go. And whatever the pressure situation was for it, I don't want to say it solved itself, but by the end of the weekend, it was all working well. At the beginning of the weekend, we had this really low oil pressure. It was real scary, and I'm just sort of like, I don't know what this is doing. And then whatever happened, and I think we know what happened. I think it was just
I think it was your check valve.
There's a bypass valve in that, and I think that it was stuck, and it unstuck, and we were running basically the best oil pressure we've ever had in an engine. And it's sort of like, okay, let's go play.
What was your favorite moment of the weekend? I'm going to ask all three of us this.
Okay, the favorite moment of the weekend was after that first race when we came in, and so the race was over, and we come around to where we are pitted at and everything, and I pull into that little piece of pavement drive there, and everybody I know, you guys, Mary, the kids, and everybody are just, the hands are clapping, they're all jumping up and down, and I'm just, I'm in the car, but I'm sharing that moment with everybody. It's just sort of like everybody had a victory at that moment, and that means so much. I mean, you could do this all yourself and you could do the victory, but when you're sharing that victory with everybody else that's working hard at it, everybody's cheering and they're up, and they're all up. Everybody has that adrenaline high of, seeing the car run well, we did well, and everybody's cheering. At that exact moment when I'm pulling in and everybody's cheering and I'm seeing everybody cheer, that's the best moment right there.
That was my best moment. Absolutely.
I would honestly say that was my best moment of the weekend. I love going out to the real bar and stuff like that. But every time you get involved with racers, you become a part of that car. And I just was super proud of the way that you raced, first off, and the fact that I got to put my hands on the car that won a race. I mean, you just got to take pride in that. Anybody that's in the racing world knows that wins are not the easiest thing in the world to come across. And when you finally get one, man, you cherish it. And honestly, that was because of you. You let us be a part of that. And
thank you so much. But it's including everybody else. I don't do this myself. I might be the guy in the seat, but I'm not the guy. I'm the only guy getting it, and I sort of carry everybody. And it's the same way when something goes wrong and there's a disappointment and I've broken out there, I feel bad for everybody else too, like the second race when you guys were watching me in the grass. Yeah, it's in my mind. I could actually see you guys over there because of where I was parked, and I'm like,
oh no.
And I'm sitting there going, damn, no, this can't be happening again. No way. But I mean, I had already done really fantastic in the first race, so no regrets. I mean, there was no regrets in that moment, even though potentially that could have broken. Now, that wasn't the case, and we went out and were successful again. That was great as well. It's just, it's sharing that moment with friends and family and everybody that's there. That's a great part.
Well, I will say this: I had a blast. I will do it again. We will be there next year. I'm actually trying right now at this point in time to find a car. I'm ready to bring my own car. It looked like so much fun, and I miss racing.
I told him as we were watching the race, there was one dark blue Triumph, I think, that was just trailing the entire pack. And he's like, "Oh, that poor guy. Why doesn't he pull off?" And I'm like, "Dude, if you were in a race car on a track, would you pull off because you were last?" He's like, No, I wouldn't. I get it now. It's like, yeah, you can be the slowest guy on the track. If you're out there and you're enjoying yourself, that's the whole point of it.
Well, and that's like, it's like Barry and his Saabs. Yeah, those things you're calling them la cars. But, I mean, you know what? He's what? Barry's probably around 80 or something like that, late 70s. They're having a time of their lives. Carl Goodwin. Okay, so there was a guy out there, right? Had that silver Devon. With the Corvair chassis. He's 91 years old.
I actually have, and this will be in the same episode that we're recording right now. I interviewed him for 10 minutes. Incredibly fabulous man. And his daughter was supposed to start taking over racing the Devon, but he kept tightening the clutch so that she couldn't push it in.
that bastard.
So when I was interviewing her and talking to her, she's like, "Yeah, I was supposed to race this car, but I can't push the clutch in." He looks at me and goes, "Crank that." Crank that up a little bit more.
Yeah, so I mean, well, it's sort of like one of the I've gone to multiple driver schools over my career, right? And it's always good to go to a driver school. A lot of these guys will do it, and the top drivers go to a driver school. They're gonna learn something. You're hearing different voices, getting different points of view. The one driver school I had, my driver instructor was 85, and he was an instructor, and he was an instructor for a good reason, because he knew what the hell he was doing, and yeah, he's 85, but top of his game, I mean, physically he's not 30, right? We got that, but still on top of his game,
Yeah.
And you can do that. There's a few young drivers out there, no doubt about it. If Nick in his white Sprite, he's actually the manager of Joe's bar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, another bar on the island there.
Another island car.
Yeah, that is an island car, and actually they just bought that a couple years ago for an incredibly good price, and it was ready to go. I don't think he's done anything but change oil and air the tires, and he's out there playing and doing relatively well. He wasn't too far behind me.
Well, I think the only thing you had to worry about was the 993.
Well, after the Spitfire let go, that is true. Hey, we'll see what happens next year.
I'm looking forward to next year. Hang on, I actually have an outro song for us too.
Yeah, we're gonna have a couple new tires on that car, so that might make a little difference.
It might.
Because you said those tires were kind of spent.
They
cycled.
They cycle out, so they go through so many heating cycles, and then the rubber starts hardening. Unfortunately, my problem is I can't afford a bunch of wheels. So if I could, I'd put those on another set of wheels and use them for like the hill climb coming up, and use it for the street, and then use a new set for the track. But I just don't have that money, so we kind of go from there. So yeah, new tires, would it help? A bit. The nut behind the wheel.
That's a whole other story.
Yeah, the better I get, the better the car goes, the more experience I get, and so forth, But we'll, God willing, and sponsorship willing, we'll try to do a couple more events next year. Probably Gingerman again in the spring, which is a wonderful event that's horrendous on weather. It's probably the worst weather thing you ever want to go through. It's like either almost snowing or raining or blowing you off the track, but there's a lot of people there, and it's a phenomenally great event.
Now, you had at least one GoPro on your car. Is that going to be released to YouTube this year?
You'll have to now. My son Alex is the GoPro guru, so you'll have to ask him. But yes, I would imagine. Now he has done other stuff. When we did the hill climb, we went to Bellefontaine. I'm sorry.
I got to watch that at work live, which was awesome.
Yeah, and so he did. Now the GoPro actually has telemetry. So.
Oh.
Yeah, so he's able to turn that telemetry on and put a set of gauges to it, which he did before, and it's showing some G ratings and speeds and all that kind of fun stuff. I would imagine that, and Alex, this is part of what Alex does and what he enjoys. He's like, hey, Dad's out in the car and I'm recording it. And I get to watch this and do a little production of the whole thing. So I would have to talk to him. Yeah, he's a busy guy too, but he'll take all that footage that he has and he'll do something good with it. And
that's
he has
cool.
Before, we are on YouTube. Like I said, you have to talk to Alex about that and everything, but we are on YouTube. There's videos of us at the hill climb. There's videos of us at Put-in-Bay in previous years through disasters and good times. And I'm sure he'll have some videos this year. I'm sure he will.
Awesome.
Well, if there's nothing else, I think we've discussed everything that happened over the weekend. We need to thank, what is the cigar shop's name? The cigar shop?
Oh,
Richard's?
That would be Richard the Tobacconist. Now our friend Jessica Pisgrossi, she works there. She's part of that. She helps with the team sometimes too. And Richard has a great cigar shop up there, and he
has a great selection. I actually smoked one of the Put-in-Bay versions.
Special blends.
Special blends that he does. Incredible cigar, wrapped so tightly that I smoked it all the way down for 45 minutes. It was the best tasting cigar I've ever had. Make sure that you go and visit Richard's shop. Remember, Cameo Pizza. Best pizza on the island, guys. Go out there, eat it
Cameo's great. Roger Jones great. Brian's great. These guys are it's always been our favorite pizza. We always inevitably when we go there, we're gonna get a Cameo's one time or another.
A&B Rentals for your cart needs.
Rentals. Well, the funny thing is that we went to A&B Rentals to rent a cart, and nobody answered.
Well, yeah. Well, we didn't ask in advance, so that was our bad.
I understand. Still, great people. Make sure that you go and rent from them. The Commodore Resort was a phenomenal place to stay, 21 and over. The Real Bar, my favorite
Fantastic
place on the island, guys. No, I can't say that because we had lobster bisque.
That was really good.
What was the name of that place? Upper Deck?
The boardwalk is the whole set of restaurants right there.
Yeah.
But upstairs would be that. Yeah. But it's just the boardwalk set of restaurants. They're always pretty good.
Go to the boardwalk, eat the lobster bisque. It was to die for.
Yeah, it's pretty much as good, if not better, than anything you can get in Maine.
But honestly, my favorite place to go all weekend long was the Real Bar.
You were there 2 or 3 times, and everything was excellent.
The food was excellent. The owners are phenomenally awesome.
Angela and Andy will really take care of you well. They've always treated us fantastic, and we're part of their pirate crew for their pirate festival. That's another hat we wear. But they're a lot of fun. They always have Ray Fogg, who co-owns the place, always has top-notch entertainment there. Whether it's Bob Gatewood, who you guys saw, or he's always got some top-notch entertainment there. Some of the best on that.
It's a great place. They are actually doing pumpkin spice martinis right now. Just posted that on their website today.
Yep, good stuff.
Now, before
is that a dry martini or a wet one?
It's a little bit of a wet one there, but it's a good taste.
Hey, something I forgot to bring up. I have to say this. The open road.
Oh, the open road. So here's the story behind that. There's a fella. Oh, for crying out loud! Hold on 1 second. What's his name? Oh, sorry. Okay, I had my brain fart. Okay, Bert Levy wrote The Open Road. The book is The Last Open Road. Thank you. My partner in crime over here is correcting me. Okay, so Bert Levy wrote The Last Open Road. And the book is about sports car racing in the 50s and 60s. He's actually got I think he's got 5 books out now. And they're pretty much all centered around the same thing. It's the Last Open Road is told from the point of view of a mechanic at the time who's just sort of like a backyard shade tree mechanic type guy who gets a job and starts working on British cars because somebody in his town has one, and advances up through the ranks. And it's all about how racing was back then, which you guys visiting Put-in Bay is very much how it is like in Put-in Bay. It's just sort of that scenario and that sort of air about it. And so the whole book is about that. And all the vintage guys with the vintage cars identify with it because it's their cars. You know, it's like it's written about TDs and TCs and the Healeys and the old Ferraris and the Allards and, you know, all these odd cars and these old D-type Jaguars and these, you know, all this stuff that came together. And were the guys with the specials that kind of like would put something together, you know, and go to these old.
And to kind of add on that, there was one guy that just showed up randomly at Craig's place going, hey, I need this bolt pattern on this eye hole. Do you have one? He went through all of his stuff and found the perfect part for this guy and just said, take it. And the guy was like, I'm going to bring you a case of beer. And that was just like, to me, the epitome of what this whole racing scene was about. It's like, I broke my shit. Can you help me out? Yep. Here's some beer. Awesome. We all had a great time.
You know, you brought up a point about the racing world. Back in, I think it was 2004 or 2005, I was working with Tim Turner at K&K Racing in the ARCA Remax series, and we went and did a race in Virginia somewhere. I can't remember exactly. I think it was Boston. I can't remember. Anyways, it was the main track that Denny Hamlin ran, and we showed up there. We wrecked on the first lap of qualifying. Denny Hamlin's old team, before he was a NASCAR star, actually gave us water, high pressure wash system to clean out our radiator. I mean, they hooked us up. We wouldn't have raced that race if they weren't there. That's what racers are about.
There's a lot of I carry spare parts with me. If somebody can use something, great. That happened to us at Groton Raceway this spring. We broke a water pump, part of a water pump, and within about a half hour, I had 4 of them in my hands.
Wow.
You know, and it's just like, okay, everybody's breaking those. So, you know, we carry a spare now. This is true. You know, but I've had people come up to me and they say, I need this nut. I got it, you know, or, you know, the one guy had that formula car and he needed that, a rod end.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of like his weekend was over. Craig happened to have a rod end that was going to work. I looked through mine. I had several, mine weren't going to work, but I carried a few spares in case. And it's just sort of like, okay, but that was one of Craig's competitors, you know, matter of fact, that guy was second place over Sharon, who was in third in qualifying. So, but what fun would it be if he wasn't running?
Yeah.
You know, it's just sort of like you want these guys to run, you know. And the same thing happened when my car faltered in race 2. And I was trying to figure it out who came over. But the guy from the Mini, he came over and found me and says, "Hey, what's going on? You know, are you going to be okay? Is the car running and everything like that?" You know, and I'm like,
He actually walked over into the hangar.
yeah.
From
Yeah,
the other side of the airport.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is my biggest competitor, and he's wanting to make sure that we're
He
doing
still
okay.
had his
How can I
helmet
help?
on when he walked into the hangar. I was like, that's awesome. This is what racing's about.
Yeah, it's a bit of a family thing, you know, and it's meaningful to everybody who's doing it. You know, if you're on the outside, it's cool, it's fun to look at. If you're on the inside, it's a big deal. You know, it's a big deal to the people who are doing it. So and that's really cool. So yeah, so this last open road, everybody kind of identifies with the book. They identify with the stories in one way or another. Now, it doesn't mean that you were there or not, but you're driving the cars. The tracks are familiar because, you know, you sort of like some of these tracks are still around, some are not. And the stories are cool as heck. It's the identifying with that. So a lot of people run that decal on the car. It's just the last open road because everybody kind of understands that. You know, it's just sort of like it's vintage racing. It's the way things were. Yeah, there's a lot of new technology out here. Yeah, we're using a lot of it, you know, but it's still a lot of the old stuff, you know. And
You're running a carburetor, goddammit.
This is true, you know. And the thing is, we're doing the work ourselves, you know, which is the way a lot of the stuff was done. I don't have a professional race shop that I go to. I do have a machine shop that we use here in Barberton, Ohio. What's their name, Mary? American Thunder. So we use American Thunder Machine Shop to do our machining. They used to be Gable's Machine Shop, which you may or may not know of, out of Akron. Rick Gable semi-retired, but he still touches all my engines. And so it's through American Thunder now in Barberton. They do all my machine work, and they're good enough to get it running. I mean, you do the machine work, and they're pretty. You
finish. They must be okay.
Yeah, and they're pretty damn quick with their machine work too. I mean, you know, it's like things came back when they needed to, and that's super important. But besides that machine work, we do everything. You know, I do all the specking of everything. I do my own head work. I do my own crank work, except for when I have to have machine shop stuff. Do all my own welding, all my own fabrication, all my own assembly, disassembly too. You know, and then of course we have a little help from our friends. You know, hey, come over, have a beer. I got to get this engine out tonight. You know.
Yeah, we've seen the live stream on Facebook before.
Yeah, you know, or it's just sort of like I can't bleed the brakes myself. I just can't do it. So, you know, Alex or Mary or somebody is over to help me with that once in a while, you know, and it takes a lot of people. But yeah, the cool thing is it's sort of like we're doing this ourselves. You know, there's a certain amount of pride doing that, and then you finish well. You know, it's just sort of like you don't have to have a professional shop. You don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to have the time of your life, you know, and you can do a lot of the work yourself still, you know, and that's a cool thing. And what you don't know how to do, well, I don't have enough.
Somebody might know, and they might teach you.
Yeah, or you're going to have to learn. You know, it's out there.
YouTube's a great place.
Yeah, that too.
Well, I think we've hit every point that we need to hit. I am so glad that I got the opportunity to meet you, Bob.
Thank you, Scott. It was great meeting you and having you around too.
You're an intricate person. I haven't quite figured you out yet.
And you never will, just so you know.
Your dancing skills are like top 10.
Out of, 100.
Wow. Thanks.
Well, it's okay. You're better than Burke.
Yeah, who isn't?
I'll tell you what. The same thing gives me the dancing skills, helps me on that track too. You got to have some rhythm, man. Yeah, rhythm and racing in the rain.
There you go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everyone for coming on the show tonight. Remember to go. What's your website? Southwind Racing.
Oh, we are actually working on a website right now. It is not going to be finished. If anybody wants to help with that, yeah, it's just because I'm not the most savvy with that, so we're kind of struggling through. But we do want to get together and finish up a website, not only for us, but for some of our sponsors. We're working on some sponsors for next year as well. So we're always looking for that. And, we're looking for the grassroots type situation, so it's not like we're looking for thousands of dollars to help support our racing. It's sort of like, throw some change in the bucket. It helps. It's sort of like
so
that.
Is there a place for people to go to donate to you or?
Yeah, Copley, Ohio.
We were actually doing that one time through, what the hell was that, Mary? I refer to the wife again. Yeah, we were having something for a while. Donate to Bob.com. I don't know. Actually, our friend Jess was helping with that a bit. But we are going to be. We were going through a GoFund. The problem with that is they GoFund themselves a lot. So, it's sort of a general donation. Just contact.
All right. So, what we will do is on our website, davisanddavisshow.com, we will post a link for you to go and help Bob, Mary, Alex, Jeff, Jess. Is there anyone else that's...
Yeah, there's a million other people, but those are the big ones.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's the main crew. But everybody throws a hand in.
Help that crew with some cash so that we can see this car make more than 3 races next year. And hopefully win one.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's participating and letting that yellow flash around the track is great.
Yeah, that saffron yellow. Pick on him for the rest of the day on that.
That's your lot in life, Scott.
You know what? The brake calipers are saffron red.
There you go. All right, people. DavisandDavisShow.com. Please go there. Check us out. Get involved. Help vintage racing stay happening.
Yeah,
because
thanks for listening for everybody. That's really cool. I hope you enjoyed the show and what we had to say. And hey, if you got questions, post and ask these guys questions. I'll get back to you with some stuff if anybody's curious about knowing anything.
There you go, people.
Bob, it was a pleasure. Thank you for stopping by.
Well, thank you, Burke. Thank you, Scott. It was a great night here. Great night talking with you guys.
I have a special song for us to go out.
Oh, God.
Go for it.
Cash, cold, that's what I need.
I know this one.
Now you know what makes the race car really go.
All right, kids. Y'all have a good night tonight.
I want to be rich.
Hey, good luck with your jury duty.
All right, people. We'll